topsy-turvey days. It's like when we're in the middle of a film or a story of a book and we don't know where the action's going. Don't know where the story is going. Have not a clue. But we do know one thing. At one point, things have all got to be brought together, don't they? It's interesting how that happens in life a lot of the time. We can have topsy-turvy days, and I'm having one of them today. Now, today is, of course, Tuesday Tickler. This is not the same Tickler as is on Facebook, because I'm still not allowed on Facebook to stream via YouTube. I must have been a very naughty girl. This story is ongoing, and I don't know what the outcome of this is going to be. But until then, here we are. So that's part of my topsy-turvy tangent plan of action, this plot line that is thickening as we go along, like bistro gravy. But it's one of those things that we can't really plan for the slump in the middle. Sometimes life just goes there. Sometimes we have this way of starting off really well. Then someone pulls the plug, something goes, and we just slump a little bit. We go into a just deathly, what's the point? However, having something to look forward to does help. Understanding that this too shall pass does help. When you're in the middle of the topsy-turvy, it's very chaotic and it can be very stressful. Now, stress is something that can jump from person to person, like fleas from dog to dog. And there are a lot of stuff going on at the moment as to what is good for stress and what's not good for stress. Chaos is very rarely deemed good for stress. However, some of us actually believe that we thrive on it. Which is why many of us who do say that will actually allow things to be open-ended. They don't like to top and tail their day by saying, I start the day like this, and I end the day like that, and in between anything can happen, but these two anchors will always be. No. Some of them will be, well, I might start the day like this, or I might not. I don't know. I'm just going to let it see how it goes. Start the day like this, or I might not. I don't know. I'm just going to let it see how it goes and see what happens. Which is all well and good if you are someone who is going out and taking action on what happens. Which is all well and good if you are someone who is going out and taking action on things, getting out there and doing stuff. But real life intrusions do take their own place in their space. And occasionally, things like computer mishaps, people not allowing you to post things because you did something to upset one of their bots, that kind of thing can really put a spanner in your works. Sometimes can be stressful. Stress is a natural thing. Stress is there for a reason. Our stress hormones are actually there to keep us alive. We've kind of souped them up a little bit. We've really torqued it up, turned that screw so that our stress hormones are now overactive. And we can get stressed at the smallest thing. And actually, the adrenaline that pumps into us is something that really is the addictive part. The idea that we're strong, that we're vibrant, we're seeing everything, we're doing everything, everything's happening right now and we're there and we're in it. And then afterwards, oh my goodness, the battery has gone flat. Our heart's not pumping anymore, our pupils are not dilated anymore, we're not feeling everything and doing everything, and that's the thing. That's why people get called adrenaline junkies, why they have to keep going for the next, the bigger, the better. But being in a topsy-turvy situation doesn't necessarily mean that you're an adrenaline junkie. It can just mean that you don't organise things very well. I actually fall kind of between those two chairs. Maybe more on the disorganised part. Since retiring from my job, where it was very well understood that I would know what was happening from the time I got up in the morning until the time I went to bed at night. It was the middle part where we didn't know what was going to happen. All hell could break loose at any moment. There could be accidents, there could be people rushing in with gastric torsions in Great Danes, or cats with broken legs, or dog fights, or it could be anything. Absolutely anything. And something that would come in, perhaps we would have, and it happened at one point, we had a very young dog come in for a spay, which they say the word routine, and I hate using that word when it comes to anaesthetics and operations, because it's never routine. When you say routine, you get complacent about things, I believe. But that's just me. And then we had this old 15-year-old dog coming in for an anaesthetic, and we were very careful to let the owner know about the dangers and the difficulties of anaesthetising a dog of that age, and what the possibility was that perhaps they wouldn't be able to take it. And the most amazingly dreadful thing was that it wasn't the old dog who couldn't take the anaesthetic. It was the young one. And we were all taken aback by that, because it wasn't what we expected. Even although we knew it was still a possibility, you still think of the best outcome, the best way. The odds are never going to be against the young, the fit, the healthy. The odds are always going to be against the old, the infirm, and the less likely to be surviving. But there are some things that you just cannot make a statistic of. So think about that when you're being topsy-turvied. And remember that there's always a way out. Because if you make that anchor, no matter where you get lost in the middle of the book or the film, you know that at one point it's all got to come together. It might not come together in a way that you're particularly satisfied with, but it might actually just make sense. And that's all we can ask for to make out of our days, is sense. When we don't do that, we get stressed. Sometimes things are just meant to not make sense. And that's where we have to let them go. We have to just allow them to be what they are. Animals get stressed, and we are animals, so we get stressed too. We all have those stress hormones for a reason. And we can control our responses and our reactions to a certain extent about those stresses and strains. So remember that. Remember to respond more than react. Remember that there are ways to calm yourself down when things aren't going the way that you want them to. Sometimes if you're as lucky as me, you have friends who can say, hang on a minute, just rein that back in. You're going way too far down that road too fast. That's life though, isn't it? We all have our talents, we all have our foibles, we all have the ways that we do things. And it's when that topsy-turvy terrorist comes in and tumbles everything upside down that we get a little bit lost. But what we've got to remember is we're always where we are in the present moment. And that can be an anchor in itself. We can change it when we want to. As long as we remember that, Wednesdays will be wonderful after Topsy Turvy Tuesdays have gone. I'll see you tomorrow.